Here I am, back in the Christmas Carol reviewing seat. A couple years ago, I reviewed 12 versions of A Christmas Carol 12 days in a row, right here in this very spot. There are a lot more than 12 versions of A Christmas Carol, though, and today I'm back to talk about this one from 2009. This is Disney's A Christmas Carol, starring Jim Carrey as Scrooge. This was my first time seeing this version, and as the credits rolled and all these familiar British and American names went by, my mom said to me, "How is it that we haven't seen this version before?" I was always kind of curious about it, but I think I put it off because I was afraid I wasn't gonna like it. It has a very distinctive 3D animation look, and every time I saw a picture or a video clip from it, I thought, I don't know about this. But it turns out I did like it. I still think the animation is a little strange sometimes, but I got used to it for the most part. There were still times when I thought, nope, that looks weird, or when the likeness between the real-life voice actor and their on-screen caricature was just a little too uncanny. But because it was animation, and because they chose this particular style of animation, and it was made for 3D, they were able to do all kinds of crazy things with visual storytelling, zooming and soaring around all over the place, that was very different, and made it kind of an exciting way to tell this story. They were also able to do things with the more fantastical elements, namely the ghosts, that no version's ever done before. Some of that stuff with the ghosts was pretty intense, like the Jacob Marley scene. Wow, when his jaw became unhinged, and we've seen that in other versions, but this made it so... he was just flapping around there, and his tongue is flapping around, and he's still trying to talk, and then he turns around and, ties it back up, but he ties it too tightly, so then it just looked so weird, and was really disturbing. And then the part when he goes out the window and Scrooge sees all the other spirits, that was pretty freaky too, because you're basically seeing the spirits, the tormented spirits, going through their own individual forms of eternal torture for the deeds that they did in life, and it was really heavy stuff. But I liked it. I know it sounds like I'm saying it was too much for me, but I do enjoy a good Marley scene. What was really weird, to me at least, was that the Ghost of Christmas Present sequence was even creepier, at least the tail end of it. He usually just kind of fades out or disappears when we're distracted with the Ghost of Christmas Yet to Come, but this one went a few steps farther. We saw the Ghost of Christmas Present die a slow and painful death, and yet he's laughing the whole time, and Scrooge gets accosted by Ignorance and Want, who transform into adult versions of themselves, and Want turns into what's essentially a prostitute, and then gets dragged away in a straitjacket, which is like a comment about how the mentally ill were treated back in Victorian times, and there was just so much going on, and meanwhile the Ghost of Christmas Present is laughing, and then he drops dead, and then he's decaying. There was so much, and I was like, I can't believe they're doing all this. It did make for an even spookier introduction to the Ghost of Christmas Yet to Come, which has a pretty cool design. I liked how it would form itself out of the shadows and loom largely as this fluid spiritual presence rather than a physical manifestation, except for when this black bony hand would come shooting out. There's a lot of jump scares in this one, by the way, probably because it was made in 3D, so they wanted to take full advantage of that effect. So I was surprised at how dark and mature this version got with some of its interpretations. Not that it didn't have the happy, wonderful Christmas moments. The last part of the movie was as bright and cheery and joyful, yay, it's Christmas morning, as it should be. But there was definitely a huge emphasis on death, right from the beginning. And I could say, nope, that's too dark. It's too dark for a kids movie, it's too dark for a Christmas movie, but Dickens' story has a lot of that gloom and despair and slightly macabre stuff mixed in with moments of levity and humor and light. Speaking of light, I forgot to mention The Ghost of Christmas Past, which had a very interesting design. I think they really nailed that, is it a man, is it a woman, is it an old person, is it a child thing. Overall, though, I thought the ghost was a little odd. That's really what I would say about this version in a nutshell. A lot of the artistic choices are fascinating and innovative, but also kind of odd. I was really amazed at how closely they followed the original story. They kept it pretty much line for line, at least as far as I can tell. It also had some impressive voice acting. Jim Carrey did a very good job. Honestly, if I hadn't known it was him going into it, I don't think I ever would have guessed because he sounded very different. I also didn't realize that most of the actors were playing multiple voices. Carrey was the voice of Scrooge at all ages, and all the ghosts minus Marley. I knew Bob Cratchit was voiced by Gary Oldman as soon as I saw him because he looked like Gary Oldman, which was strange, but I had no idea he also voiced Jacob Marley and Tiny Tim. I thought his Marley was very good. I think the biggest weakness in this version was when it veered away from the story and went off on these lengthy sequences that I guess they were supposed to be funny. Since the rest of the movie is played so straight, these kind of borderline slapsticky moments just felt random and out of place. But those scenes didn't really end up tipping the scales for me. I still had a good time with this movie in spite of some of its shortcomings. So if you can get used to the occasional weird look on some of the animated faces, and you don't mind watching A Christmas Carol that looks like it's made for kids, but actually delves into some pretty dark material, some of it really sad, some of it really creepy, then this might be up your alley, and I think you should maybe check it out. Thanks for watching! Bye!